As we move on in Chapter 6, we're still going to see this title, Solving Systems. Now remember, solving systems just means you're going to find when x and y are the same for both equations or whatever other variable you may have. Let me turn off the fan real fast. Okay. So again, we're going to do this this opener in class. There we go. And we're just going to get into the vocab. So today you're going to learn by substitution. Now let's talk about what substitution is. Substitution is a method of solving a system of linear equations, remember x and y, by solving one of the equations for a single variable and plugging that particular one that you just solved, plugging that into the other equation to solve. So you might want to read that through, pause the video, see if that makes some sense. Let's try to figure out what I mean. What is the solution of a system? Use substitution. Now, if we were using graphing like we did yesterday, we would set both equations to y and go from there. But notice that equation number 1 is already solved for y. Do you see that? Well, that's great. If it's solved for a variable, in other words, if it's already solved for a single variable, why don't you put a circle around it and watch this? If y is 3x here, take a guess at what this y should be here. Hopefully you're thinking, well, if this y is 3x, that y should also be 3x. So we are going to rewrite our second equation. So instead of x plus y, we are now going to have x plus 3x. That's that word substitution. If I have a substitute in my class, that person is going to replace me. So in this equation, 3x simply replaced our letter y. So the rest of the equation will read equals negative 32. Now we have a basic equation. Notice it's a one variable equation now. Once we get it down to a one variable situation, we combine our like terms. So we get 4x equals negative 32. We can divide each side by 4, and we will get our x, which is x equals, not a negative 4. We will get x equals a negative 8. We now have the answer for one of our variables, in this case the variable of x. Once you get one answer, you take that answer and you plug it in. Now it is always very easy to plug it into the equation that's solved for a single variable. So up here we had solved it for the letter y, so we're going to take our negative 8 and we're going to plug it in. So we get y equals 3x, which is from the first equation, and now take that negative 8, plug it in, so you get y equals 3 times negative 8. In other words, y is negative 24. And just like we did before, the same thing happens now, where we take our two answers and we put them as an ordered pair, negative 8, negative 24. Now, if you were to graph them, you would get the same thing, but you could probably assume, just by looking at these numbers, that would be very difficult for us to graph. Let's go on to the got it. If you want to pause the video and try it yourself, you may. Notice that both of these equations are solved for the variable y. So it really doesn't matter which equation you pick, because they are both solved for a single variable. Since they're both solved for a single variable, just pick one of them. So let's pick the top. See this 2x plus 7? Let's take it and sub it in for y. Since y is 2x plus 7, we're just going to plug 2x plus 7 in for y. So here we go. Let's rewrite it. Rewrite. So instead of y equals x minus 1, we get y equals 2x plus 7 minus 1. Just remember, I have to redo that. So when you rewrite it, oh crap. When you rewrite it, you will get, instead of y, you will get 2x plus 7, and then the other side will remain the same. Just know that 2x plus 7 replaced the entire variable y. So now we will solve this like a normal equation. Minus x, we get x plus 7 equals negative 1, minus 7, x equals negative 8, and we have our answer for x. Now take this answer, and we got to plug it in. It doesn't matter which equation you pick. I like picking the one that had the box in it originally. So I like doing y equals, instead of 2x plus 7, instead of x, I'm going to put in negative 8. So y equals 2 times negative 8 plus 7, since we just found that. And we get y equals negative 16 plus 7. And then you get y equals negative 9. Once you get your two answers, we're going to write them as an ordered pair. Now if you want to check and see if you did it right to see if your answer is correct, simply take negative 8, plug it into both equations, and make sure that you get negative 9 when it's all said and done. Moving on. You're going to see now on this page that it's not solved for a variable. So let's write this down. We're going to do the same set of directions, but this time let's go ahead and make a note. Neither equation is solved for a single variable. In other words, neither one says x equals and neither one says y equals. Well, here's what we're going to have you do. Step 1, pick the easier equation. Now, you might be like, Mrs. L, how do you recognize the easier equation? Well, can you see in the second equation that y is by itself? That means that, quite frankly, it's the easier equation because, well, y is, or I should say y has a coefficient of 1. That makes it a little easier. Why does it make it a little easier? Because now, step 2, we are going to solve for the easy variable. In this case, the easy variable is y. So when I rewrite this problem, when I take the 2x to the other side, I get y equals, this time, a positive 2x minus 3. Why the positive 2x? Because when you take it over here, it becomes a positive 2x. Now you should notice we have our single variable. So 3, we have our single variable. Yay! It says y equals. You see it? So what we're going to do is step 4, apply what we were doing. Now watch carefully, and you might want to write this down. Since we changed equation 2, okay, if we label 1 and 2, since we changed equation number 2, you're going to plug that in the other equation. So that would be plug it in to equation number 1. Alright, I won't write these directions every time, but it's beneficial for now. So where we have, step 5, where we have 3y plus 4x equals 14, we're going to take this y and we're going to make it what we found y to be. So we're going to do 3 times the quantity, okay, because it's a quantity up here. 3 times the quantity, 2x minus 3. And then we continue, plus 4x equals 14. So again, the purple box went inside the purple parentheses, and it replaced our letter y because up here we saw that we were able to do so. Now distribute in and solve. So I'm just going to write solve. Okay? That's 3 times 2, that's 6x, minus 3 times 3 is 9, plus 4x equals 14. Combine your like terms to get 10x minus 9 equals 14. Add the 9 to both sides, please. 10x equals 23. And this is a very ugly problem. When we divide each side by 10, no decimals, okay? We finally get our answer. So if you want to write a step number 7, we finally get an answer of x equals 23 over 10. Yeah, that's an ugly answer, but guess what, guys? It's right. Okay, as ugly as it is right. So we can put a smiley face if that makes you feel better. Now, number 8, we got to take this answer and we got to plug it into, I like to plug it into here. So if you want to draw another arrow, it's very beneficial to plug it in where we had that purple box. So y equals, instead of 2x minus 3, I'm going to take out the x and put in our answer. See? Whoop, whoop. We're going to plug in 23 over 10. And then don't forget to minus the 3. So once you get a single answer, you plug that answer back in. Well, that's pretty ugly, isn't it, guys? 2 times 23 over 10 minus 3. You may use a calculator, but you better be able to get 8/5. Now, if you don't know how to do that, that's a whole other discussion that we need to have tomorrow if you're having trouble multiplying and subtracting this stuff together. We now have 2 answers, 23 over 10 and 8 over 5. All right, so let's write our answers as an ordered pair. X first, 23 over 10. Y next, 8 over 5. Ugly, but guess what? It's right, and that's all that matters. Let's do the got it. What is the solution? And then it looks like there's a part B, but let's start with part A. What is the solution? Well, we're going to follow our steps from up there. You ready? Pick the easy equation. Do you think 6y and 5x is easier? Or do you think x and 3y is easier? Hopefully you guys decide that the second equation is easier. So I'm going to bring that down. X plus 3y equals negative 7. And then what I'm going to do is practice isolating a single variable. So you see how x is already by itself? Isolate this. Isolate this. Because it's easier. So we get x equals, when we take the 3y over, it becomes a negative 3y, and it was a minus 7. Let's continue on. We manipulated equation number 2, so that means we need to plug it into equation number 1. So instead of 6y plus 5x, since we solved for x, x goes away, and we put in negative 3y minus 7. And that's where we get that word substitution, because we substituted in the purple box for the letter x. And that equals 8. And again, that came from the first equation, because we manipulated the second equation. Now we need to solve. 6y plus negative 15y minus 35 equals 8. That came from distributing, okay? And then negative 6y, positive 6y and negative 15 makes negative 9y minus 35 equals 8. And then you get to add 35 to both sides. That becomes a 43. Hopefully your math skills are on par. And then you divide both sides by negative 9. Oh, we get a really ugly answer again, don't we? We get y equals, that does not reduce, the negative goes up top. Y equals negative 43 over 9. Ugly, but guess what? It is right. Now you might say, so I have one answer, where do I plug it back into? That's where that box comes in handy again. You know, from the box, you know that x equals negative 3y minus 7. Okay, this is a really nice way to set up your problem if you haven't noticed. It's very organized and thought out. Now, we're still going to have x equals, we're still going to have negative 3, but remember, we got y. Y is negative 43 over 9. Boy, that sounds like fun to plug in, huh? Well, as long as you know how to multiply fractions and add and subtract fractions, you will end up getting that x equals 22 over 3. Now, if you guys are struggling with your fractions and your multiplying and your subtraction, we got to get that straight. So tomorrow when you come in, why don't you say, Mrs. L, I don't remember how to do that. and we can fix it up. We write our final answer, x first, so 22 over 3, and then y, negative 43 over 9. Everything else we'll put on the next video.